Bill de Blasio served in the administration of David Dinkins. And during that period of time, we had 2,000 murders a year. We had, the last time we had a race riot in the city of New York. Everything that Bill de Blasio has talked about in public safety, I believe is reckless. It'll push us back to where we were. Mr. de Blasio is nothing but a partisan. All he wants to do is attack, attack, and attack. The reality is Bill de Blasio makes promises over and over that he can't keep. 30 seconds. You know, I'm very concerned about the way Mr. de Blasio thinks. Let me tell you what I think regarding tax increases. Anybody who tells you that they're only going to tax the rich always ends up taxing the middle class. So for those of you out there, the middle class, hold on to your wallets.
He said a moment ago I would annihilate charter schools. He said I would destroy our efforts at Sandy if I tried to make sure that people affected by Sandy got jobs.
I've done nothing but work with people and bring them together.
Your ad certainly does. Your ad doesn't look like something that's trying to bring people together, Mr. Lhota.
It's trying to tell people what would happen to you and how dangerously reckless you are.
It's race baiting and fear mongering. You know it.
Stop.
You know it.
There's nothing race baiting about that.
There's nothing race baiting about it.
You know, last night we were asking before the debate if Joe Lhota would go quietly into the good night, given how badly he was trailing. I think we got our answer. Certainly coming out swinging, and somebody would say for the first time in this campaign here, and he went after repeatedly de Blasio, all but talking about him as a Sandinista socialist, you would think here. Dominic, too little, too late. I know the polls say he's getting creamed here. We'll show the ads in a second, but the ads kind of follow the same narrative. A vote for de Blasio is a vote for a return back to the 70s, into the dangerous days of the city. I just wonder where this was the whole campaign, but at least he started something last night.
Well, the best that Joe Lhota can hope for right now, Richard, is to make this race respectable. That's the best, and I'm being as objective, as nice as I can to Mr. Lhota. You know, remember, he doesn't have money. He's part of the campaign finance system, so his ads won't run continually. He's in the same system that de Blasio's in. 6-1 numbers against him. He's not going to win. He can make it respectable.
Is there any historical race you can draw on, Bernard, that says 2 weeks to go, when somebody's trailing by more than 20, 30 points, they've ever made that much of a late push this late in the game?
Outside of an exogenous disaster that is either self-inflicted or created by events, no. And the problem is, Lhota's performance last night seemed a little bit desperate, but here, Richard, is my concern about the entire mayoral campaign. I feel that given that we are going to come into an era after 12 years of Mike Bloomberg, I would have liked to see on both sides a far more engaging dialogue that reached out to the voters, that got the voters involved early on. The Democratic primary, people were completely disconnected from it. Anthony Weiner's entry and exit made a mockery of the entire show. And I really am concerned that we did not get a full, fair hearing from any of the Democratic candidates, frankly. Didn't pay much attention to the Republican primary. I figured Lhota was going to win. But it's unfortunate. I think that the real losers here are the New York City voters, who are likely going to elect Bill de Blasio, who is a fine guy, but I think there's a lot of questions out there, and an opportunity that de Blasio had to introduce himself to the voters in a more clear way, and I think the voters are going to be wondering exactly who they have in City Hall when he takes office.
You've said it better than I've been trying to for the last few months, which is I still don't know who Bill de Blasio is. You'd think of the #1 media market in the world here, arguably, with the vetting process that we do. He came out late in the primary. Lhota hasn't pushed him at all. You look at his resume, frankly, it's razor thin, and you don't really know who this guy is and what he's going to do. I can't remember, Andrew, an election like this before, especially in such a high-profile position after 12 years of Mayor Mike.
I think you could make the argument that the 2008 presidential race contained a candidate that was fairly not as well known or as well vetted as certainly
we
a
had
lot of
a
people
year.
Like.
Everybody could have told every single thing about the bias.
But you're asking, like, well, do we know what Bill de Blasio is going to do when he takes over Grayson
Mansion? No, but there's a difference. There's a difference. If you voted for it, no, but I'll say that there's a distinction with a difference. If you were going to vote for Barack Obama, you were making a calculated gamble that the promise of the man and his narrative was something that you wanted after 8 years of Bush. With Bill de Blasio, I don't even know what his narrative is other than the kids. I mean, yes, I can tell you all the different biopics. I just don't know what he's going to do.
His narrative is 2 New Yorks, and his narrative is...
But what does that mean? I know what it means, that there's economic disparity from high and low, but what does it mean what he's going to do?
Well, I'm not as uncertain as you are as to what he's got. He's going to raise upper end taxes. He's going to try to distribute some of the benefits in programs that are going to benefit other New Yorkers. Spread some of the focus.
He hopes to raise taxes.
Exactly.
Cuomo has already said he's not on board for that.
The problem is, it ain't going to happen.
No.
The taxes are not going to be raised. And so my concern there is one of his signature issues, which is universal pre-K, which I support. The vehicle that he's using to fund that is simply a non-starter in Albany.
It's not going to happen. That's my point. And he can make all the promises he wants, but at the end of the day, so much of the die is cast here. And I'm sorry, the economic engine that does drive New York still is in Lower Manhattan. And he's got to figure out a way. If you want to have more equity, I'm all for it. But I don't know that the rhetoric's going to really pay off right after he's elected.
But you make a very good point. With the Wiener scenario,
Yep.
we really didn't get a chance to fully look at all the candidates. And the people that lose are the citizens of New York. It's a very good point.
I got no answers on the issues of education,
You can make that
etc.
argument in any race.
No,
No,
you can't.
it's different. No, Andrew, you're wrong. It's
All
different.
we know right now is Dante with a big afro, and Al Sharpton stabbed Bill Thompson in the back. That's all we know.
Only if you're not looking. I mean, you can find the information about the
You
plans and what
can't
they're trying
find
to do.
anything about Bill
But the
Thompson.
voters are
about
not
de
going to take
Blasio.
the time to do that. What was missing from this debate is any candidate that outlined a true, inspiring vision for a New York post-Bloomberg that talked about economic development linked with housing, linked with education. This is all connected, how to turn New York into an innovation, tech-driven city that's going to create jobs and have the housing and education to be able to fill those jobs and house those people that are going to take those jobs. That type of discussion was completely absent.
I thought the race was going to be about the outer boroughs too. Whatever happened to that? Remember?
I gotta say though, I mean, Anthony Weiner, for all of his, for all the damage he did to this race, had a booklet or a sheet like 125 pages with those kinds of details. Nobody ever read it.
Well, because it was Anthony Weiner.
But it's not. I mean, you're blaming the candidates here, and I'm saying the voters have some culpability here too. If you want to find this information, you can find it.
Listen, I mean, fine. You want to not blame the candidates, you want to blame the media for covering it, whatever. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, in November, when they choose the next mayor, and it's going to be Bill de Blasio, I can't remember another time where it's buyer beware. We don't know what we're getting. And also, you said it best. It doesn't matter what he says. Realistically, what he can do. You can say whatever you want about Bloomberg. What he said he was going to try to do, there was a fighting chance he could get it done. You may not have liked it, but he had a chance to actually push the stuff through. De Blasio, and he's got no equity at the city council, et cetera. It's big a crapshoot, not his fault, but that I can remember at least. Okay. Now, one of the things, obviously, the next mayor, whoever it is, will deal with is obviously some of the unforeseen challenges that come up with questionable shootings and obviously crime. Now, when we come back, we're going to be talking to an expert about police procedures and notably confusing incidents, difficult situation law enforcement's put in, but people asking questions, where is that line and what is the right and the wrong policies when it comes to police procedures? Stay with us. We'll be right back.